The MOZA HBP Handbrake is the first real additional sim racing peripheral from MOZA Racing. The company's spent the past year or two creating racing wheel after racing wheel, along with a range of pedal sets and a few other little bits. But the Handbrake is a big step towards creating a full lineup of sim racing products and peripherals. All we really need now is that external shifter. But today I'm going to be reviewing this new Handbrake. I'll check out how well it's been designed, how sturdy and how well built it is, and look at the overall performance to see if it's worth picking up. But before I touch on all those bits, I just want to first disclose that this product was sent to me for review by MOZA, but this in no way impacts the outcome of this review. So before I look at any design or any performance, I'm going to touch on the price. And this is a bit of good news as this sim racing handbrake is very competitively priced. The MOZA handbrake costs just under $100 in comparison with other sim racing handbrakes, most of which cost over the $100 mark, with a few exceptions here or there. I was pleasantly surprised when I was told the price of this one, as it makes this handbrake pretty accessible, which is something that MOZA Racing are really focusing on, especially with their recent string of products such as the low-cost R5 wheelbase. So jumping into the design, straight away this handbrake looks pretty impressive out of the box. The design is very angular and quite aggressive, but while also remaining kind of premium and a little understated. I have to say I do quite like the look of it, as it's much edgier than other handbrakes on the market. MOZA hasn't just opted for a rectangular black box and straight shaft, they have put some thought into making this thing look pretty nice. This is a vertical handbrake by design, but you can mount the handle horizontally, giving you a few options. There's a fair bit of adjustment in the handle position, and you can mount it horizontally or vertically as I mentioned, but you can also completely adjust the angle at which you mount the handle. I initially mounted it straight up, but once I got it mounted to my rig, I noticed I kept hitting the back of my arm on my seat bolster. So out came the spanners and I adjusted the handle to be angled forward by around 10 degrees, and this made it much more comfortable to use. Having this wide range of adjustability is really nice. The materials are pretty high quality, with the majority of the handbrake constructed from black powder coated aluminium. The main base of the handbrake, along with the shaft and even the handle, are all using this metal construction, making it look rather premium. There's a bit of plastic on the side which houses the connection ports, but this has been pretty cleverly blended into the metal base thanks to its black colour and angular design. And as you get really close and start touching parts, you wouldn't know that this segment is plastic. But one thing I do have to note though, which I didn't like too much, was I would have actually preferred the handle to be finished in a softer material, either rubber or foam. And the reason for this is that I wear a ring on my left hand, and when I'm sim racing without gloves, this scratches on the handle. I have to be very conscious to hold the handle a little looser to avoid this happening. And in the heat of a rallycross race or when quickly grabbing the handbrake, this isn't always at the forefront of my mind. Maybe MOZA will consider this and release a few handle accessories, because the handle itself just screws on and off, so you can quite easily swap it out if needed. When it comes to mounting, I was pretty happy with the options. There are 6 holes on the underside which are all pre-drilled to fit with most sim rigs. I've used the 2 centre aligned holes with my Track Racer TR8, and they align perfectly, giving me no issue whatsoever. There aren't any side mounting options though, despite it looking like there are a couple of pre-drilled holes, so you will have to go with an underside mounting solution. And there also isn't a table clamp or anything like that currently. The adjustability of this handbrake is pretty good though. There are different ways you can mount the handbrake shaft, which I've touched on a little bit, but you can also adjust the stiffness of the handbrake. Inside the box you get a second spring included, along with another elastomer. If you find the yellow spring that's pre-installed to be a little light, and would like some added resistance, you can remove the yellow spring and install the blue spring. This will adjust the resistance every time you pull on the handbrake. Personally, I quite like the weight and the resistance of the handbrake in its stock layout, but it is relatively easy to pull. so I can imagine some sim racers would certainly opt for the stiffer resistance. To actually change the spring, there is a little deconstruction required, as you need to disassemble part of the shifter to reach the internal mechanism before reassembling it all. But there are a ton of tools included, so you won't have to go rummaging through your DIY drawer for a specific sized Allen key. As with most MOZA products, you can make some additional adjustments in the included pit house software, and with the handbrake this is limited to adjusting the output curve, but this can be important when really fine tuning your handbrake to your own requirements. So now let's jump into the real meat and potatoes of any sim racing review and see how well this MOZA handbrake performs. And initial impressions were certainly good. There is very little play when you wiggle the handbrake side to side, which echoes the good build quality of this product, and the handbrake is well dampened at both ends. When you pull the handbrake to 100%, there is a rubber stopper which dampens any noise and allows you to give this handbrake a bit of abuse. As you release the handbrake, there's also a good amount of damping as the handbrake returns to its original position. Now, you probably shouldn't simply let go of the handbrake, but if you get a little overexcited and do so, it's not the end of the world. You can see in this clip that during use, one of the bolts actually did come a little loose, and the top part of the handbrake started to wobble a little bit. I think this was more down to my incompetent DIY skills, rather than the bolts actually loosening over time. I did tighten them after filming this, and so far I've not encountered the same issue. There isn't too much of a progressive feel, instead the travel feels smooth and pretty linear. It doesn't quite give you the feel of a real world handbrake or the same feel of a hydraulic sim racing handbrake, but for the price you can't really expect it to. As with all MOZA products, this handbrake is fully compatible with the rest of their sim racing product range, and it can also be used with any other sim racing product on PC as a standalone handbrake. So if you're rocking a Simucube or Fanatec sim racing setup on PC, you can still add this handbrake, connect it to your PC, and it will work like a charm. On the front face, or rear depending on which way you're looking at it, there are two connection ports. You have a USB port, which is the one you use if you want to connect it directly to your PC, just like I have, and then there's also an RJ port which allows you to connect it directly to your MOZA wheelbase via the universal hub. MOZA don't currently have any console support, so this won't work with an Xbox or PS5 as of yet, but I would suspect that if in the future consoles are supported via a new wheelbase, this handbrake will probably work when connected to your wheelbase. Well, at least I hope so anyway. So let me come to my final thoughts, and I have to say my time with this MOZA handbrake has been almost entirely positive. When you consider where this handbrake sits within the realm of sim racing handbrakes, it undercuts many equivalent products in terms of price, and I believe that it overachieves in its design and build quality. The adjustability on offer is impressive, allowing you to configure this handbrake to your specific needs much better than some of the other competition. And during the heat of a rally stage, or if you're just having some fun drifting, this handbrake is a smooth operator, and I'd certainly recommend it for consideration.